Go inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr and Gary Harris.
You didn't see anything new, all right, unless you want us to just email Michigan what we're doing and anything new that we're doing. So what do you think you saw that was new? Did you see anything new? If I saw anything new out there, I would have been upset.
Why don't we just give Michigan the playbook? That was Nick Saban's response when asked what's new on offense. Good evening, everybody, and welcome in to Tider Insider TV, presented by Buffalo Rock. Tonight we're enjoying ice-cold Diet Pepsi. Let me swing it around and open it up. Take a swig. That'll be cold enough for you.
It's cold.
Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I'm Gary Harris. A lot to cover. We'll talk more about Saban's comments in a few. But first, Rodney, let's talk about Saturday's 8A game in depth. And the white team, the first team defense, won the game, but it was a white team offensive player that wound up pretty much stealing the show. True freshman T.J. Yeldon had close to 200 yards of total offense. And Rodney, he really showed everything that we had seen at Daphne High School out of this kid. Speed, power, elusiveness, quickness. We'll see it in a minute here. He just threw Travell Dixon to the ground like a rag doll on a touchdown reception. Man alive. A lot of potential here with this young man.
Man, how big was he, Gary? We talked about when he switched his commitment from Auburn to Alabama, just how pivotal that probably was, given his talent, but also from the standpoint of what Alabama needs in the future as a running back. And he's so versatile, the ability to catch the ball. Here you see him taking that dump pass. Watch Travell Dixon right here, the junior college transfer. Can't tackle him high. He's got power, as you mentioned, Gary. He's got outstanding speed, the versatility of catching the ball out of the backfield. As Nick Saban said, he can do everything.
Yeah, speaking of Nick Saban, unusual for him to hype too much praise on a player, particularly a freshman, but the coach was pretty candid about his thoughts on T.J. Yeldon and what the freshman is capable of bringing to the football team.
TJ's kind of one of those guys that can do everything. He's a good runner. He's got some power. He's got some speed. He's a really good receiver. So hopefully he'll continue to mature and have a pretty significant role in helping our offense next year.
Of course, Rodney, again, I don't think that Coach Saban said anything that we didn't see, and that's that he can do a lot of different things for you. And I think it is clear that he is going to factor in that running back rotation as a true freshman.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the situation, obviously Eddie Lacy was out this spring with his toe surgery, but, we know what kind of talent he is. Hopefully he makes a full recovery. You're looking for a guy to be that, if Eddie is back, that you're looking for a guy in T.J. Yeldon or anyone to become that second back that Alabama likes to use. And T.J. Yeldon certainly, positioned himself to get some carries. Don't forget about Justin Fowler. Of course, he fills certain roles, and D. Hart has a lot of ability, Gary. But when you look at T.J. Yeldon, you see a guy that could be an every down back.
Yeah, it's just another good situation for Alabama at running back. You're talking about 4 SEC caliber guys. A couple of them, obviously, Lacy and Fowler, have done it in SEC competition. D. Hart, as you said, kind of a change of pace guy, can help you in a lot of different ways. And then T.J. Yeldon, an incredible overall talent as a freshman. Well, it wasn't all about Yeldon. Let's take a look at some of the offensive numbers. Again, very good numbers for A.J. McCarron. Other than the 3 picks, Rodney, that's something that, is a number he would change.
Well, he's going to have to protect the football, Gary. But again, you have to remember that one of those throws came at the end of the first half. They were trying to make something happen on the last play. Another one of those picks came late in the game when he was trying to make something happen in the 2 minutes when Sinceri picked it off. And go back to also a turnover. Michael Williams fumbled the ball, that then he ran it in. The first offense, that's 4 turnovers.
That group of young receivers, there's so much talent potential there, but Kenny Bell really put up some good numbers, and he's a guy that continues to show that he can get deep and get past the secondary.
Yeah, Gary, he made a great catch early on in the game from A.J. This may be it right here, right over John Fulton. John Fulton was in excellent position there. But what can you do? Great throw, great catch. I asked Kenny afterwards, I said, would you have made that catch a year or two ago? And he said, maybe not. That's how far he's developed. There you see Christian Jones. You have to give Mike Groh a lot of credit how he's developed some of these receivers.
Yeah, you saw Jones, and we haven't even mentioned Norwood and Black and Cooper,
DeAndre White,
Shin, and DeAndre White, and Danny Woodson Jr. There are a lot of different players there. You did mention Kristen Jones, and he's a guy that has impressed in a lot of different ways. Incredible hands, quickness, could factor in the kicking game. And this was a guy that, a lot like Yeldon, he was probably ticketed to Auburn there until Alabama made a push, and I know they're glad they did because he's a heck of a football player.
Yeah, and if you remember, Gary, a lot of people thought he was going to be a defensive back, maybe a corner coming out of high school, but Alabama immediately put him on offense. Did a great job last year, showed a lot of poise in tough situations, being put back there to have to field some punts. And, you know, Gary, when you look at him, you talk about his hands. That catch he made there in the corner of the end zone, front corner, was a big-time play. And he's been – the thing about him is he seems to have produced in every scrimmage, though we didn't have an opportunity to watch all the scrimmages, but, you know, he seems to have produced. He's very consistent. So, you know, I think he's going to be a very key, pivotal player next year.
And the offensive line did some good things, but they struggled at times, too, against that defensive front.
Well,
first team Alabama defense.
I mean, you know, that defensive front has some talent. I mean, when you're talking about Adrian Hubbard coming off the edge at times with his speed, I mean, look how far he's come, Gary. He's probably about 220 pounds when he got here. He's 252 pounds now, still has that speed and that athletic ability. You know, you look at some of the other guys there that, you know, have played throughout, Damian Square, Jesse Williams, all of those guys. So this is a defense that has a lot of talent. They lost some players, but they have the talent.
We're going to talk more about the defense in a moment, but you heard about Nick Saban talking about the offense. What about the quarterback, A.J. McCarron? Here's what he had to say.
Get to throw the ball, and we're spreading it out and letting it fly. And I mean, we're still running the ball. We're still, you know, old Alabama, but we got some new plays. And anytime you run new plays, it's just fun to experience.
And Rodney, a new offensive coordinator. Of course, again, we didn't get to see many new wrinkles in the spring, but there figured to be some in time for Michigan in that season opener next fall.
Yeah, I mean, you know, certainly we knew that they were going to be somewhat bland there, Gary, and not show much. But, you know, I thought overall, the first-team offense showed a lot. They had the ability. They ran the ball some, but they threw the ball at times pretty well. Again, the turnovers, the 4 turnovers, and I realize it's just a spring game, but, you know, you have to protect the football. And, you know, they had those turnovers late, those 2 turnovers that really would have produced 14 points. So, you know, that's one thing I know that Nick Saban protect the football. That's first and foremost.
Well, still to come on Tider Insider TV, we will shift gears and talk more about the Tide's defensive performance. Also, what caused Alabama's BCS National Championship trophy to shatter into 1,000 pieces. And up next, Mr. Saban goes to the White House. In fact, the entire Crimson Tide team is headed to Washington, D.C., but Saban says it's not just to be honored by the president. Tider Insider TV will also get to your phone calls and emails. There's the information on the screen on how you can get in touch with us here on the program. We're looking forward to hearing from you. And later, another spring break mission trip for Barrett and Harrison Jones, but this one was different from the rest. John Huddleston will tell you how. You're watching the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, Tider Insider TV. On Thursday, President Obama will once again welcome the BCS National Champions, the Alabama Crimson Tide, to the White House. It's the second time in the last 3 years that Bama has made the trip. The president will also continue his tradition of honoring sports teams for their efforts both on and off the field by recognizing the Crimson Tide for giving back to the community, particularly after the tornado. In addition to their visit to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, the Tide will also see some of the sights while they're in D.C.
Even though some of our guys act like they're not really interested, I think they remember all those things, and they are historic. So, you know, we're going to expose them to them, and hopefully they'll enjoy themselves, but I know they'll enjoy their experience of having the opportunity to see the White House, go to the White House, and especially meet the president.
And with a huge day like A-Day, you figured that some of the recruits were going to be impressed and go ahead and commit, and that happened. 2 more added to the Alabama list for a total of 11. Deion Johnson, a all-purpose wide receiver out of Spanish Ford High School, 6 feet, 180 pounds, has speed to burn, big track guy. And also one of the best defensive back prospects in the country, Anthony Averett from Woodbury, New Jersey, 6'1", 175 pounds, said he fell in love with Tuscaloosa and went ahead and committed on his visit Saturday as well. Well, next on Tider Insider TV, we'll go back to A-Day and talk about how the defense performed. Also, what exactly happened that caused Alabama's national championship trophy to fall and shatter on the floor. We'll have that story. Tider Insider TV will also take your phone calls and get to your emails, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Or email us at TITV@WVUATV.com. The Alabama football team's BCS National Championship trophy was on display on Saturday when, according to a UA official, a parent of one of the current players tripped on the rug underneath the trophy's pedestal, and when he did, the Waterford Crystal football worth $30 grand came crashing to the floor. And you know what crystal and floor means? It's busted. School officials are stressing this was an accident. They're not releasing the name of the man who tripped up. UA is in the process of replacing the trophy. Also, no word on whether or not the trophy was insured. But they'll get another one and hopefully win another one in 2012. All right, Rodney, now to the defense. We touched on it a little bit when talking about the offensive line. They had some good moments, but that defensive line, a lot of big, strong athletes, linebackers running around everywhere, and the secondary made a lot of big plays. I mean, this is, again, a very talented Alabama defense.
Well, you know, watching some of those corners, you know, John Fulton did give up that one big throw, as we saw earlier, to Kenny Bell, but, you know, he was in good position. But, you know, you look at some of the young guys. Vinny Sinceri came up with big plays. Haseen Clinton-Dix, there you see him right there, made that play. You know, Deion Ballou showing a lot of ability as a cover guy. There he is making a tackle. You know, talent running all over, to be quite honest with you, Gary. I know that the experience is somewhat of a concern in some spots, but, you know, when you look at the potential of this team, I mean, to be quite honest with you, overall, I would say that probably top 35, 40 players, I don't know that I've seen this much talent at Alabama. Now, I'm not saying they're going to have 5 first-round draft picks every year. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying from 1 through 45 or so, I mean, this is as good as I've seen around here. I mean, just everyone's a football player.
Really talented players waiting on other talented players to draft.
I mean, and a lot of young, you know, a lot of young players, and you have a great recruiting class coming in that was signed, but, you know, you still need to continue to recruit because you know how that turns over.
Rodney, you know what Nick Saban likes to say in college football? Nobody's ever had a bad spring game. No one has ever had a bad spring, and Alabama didn't either. What were your overall impressions of the 8A game? You've broken down the offense and the defense, but just anything else that we haven't covered, from everything from the atmosphere to the way the kids seem to be into the game, just what struck your fancy there?
Well, again, I hate to say what I just said, but you know, when I think about it and I looked at it, I mean, the first thing that really struck me and that I took home with me was the fact that, you know, just looking at so many young players out there with so much ability and, you know, how much talent Alabama has on the field and what kind of team they could have. You look at the strengths, the offensive line. I mean, that's where it all starts. Then you look on the other side of the ball and you see great defensive linemen, great athletes at the linebacker spots, you know, the young talent in the secondary. I mean, this team has a chance to be really good. And then T.J. Yeldon. I mean, how can you not mention what he did in first opportunity? I mean, Gary, you have to remember, he was a high school player. That's right. And then all of a sudden, he's playing in an A-Day game. He just got out of high school a couple of months ago. You know, puts on a show, wins the Dixie Howell Most Valuable Player Award. And, you know, obviously, he's got a lot of talent. And then on the flip side of that, you have Eddie Lacy, who we know what he can do, but he's not even participating in the game. So another thing was the wide receivers. I wanted to see, you know, get an opportunity to have an extended look at them. And, you know, we talked about Christian Jones and his ability. You know, Kevin Norwood, we see just a matter of consistency. He's got a lot of talent. Kenny Bell. So we've talked about all those guys, and, you know, it's just, you know, what can you say? Nick Saban has recruited for 5 years, and now you can really see from top to bottom.
All right, Rodney, let's move on. If you know anything about offensive lineman Barrett Jones, you know he's constantly a man on a mission. On the field, it's to win championships. Off of it, Barrett, his brother Harrison, and virtually the entire Jones family are on a mission to help others and to share their faith, whether it's here at home or in remote locations around the world. John Huddleston has the story.
They say if you play or cheer for Alabama, you bleed crimson. But for two of the Tide players, they are connected by an actual bloodline. You probably know Outland Trophy winner Barrett Jones. He has played virtually every position on the offensive line. His younger brother, Harrison, is a sophomore tight end and will be competing for playing time this fall. But it's not just a love of football that bonds these brothers. They also share a very strong desire to serve.
You see poverty, people that have less.
Those are just two things that the pair experienced on a recent mission trip to Nicaragua.
It really teaches you not to take things for granted, that you have just everyday things that you don't even think about that are you should just be so grateful for.
Trips like these are becoming an annual tradition for the Jones brothers. 2 years ago, Barrett went to Haiti to help in the cleanup following the devastating earthquake there. Last year, Harrison followed him to continue that work. But this year's trip was different, and not just because it was a different location.
I think in the past, really the main focus of my trips have been kind of working, and this one was more just an opportunity to share my faith. And we got a chance to go into schools and an orphanage.
Played with a lot of kids and told them about Jesus.
The brothers and their group spent most of the time in the town of Hinatega, ministering, spreading the gospel to children, and seeing firsthand the effect that they were having.
One time a kid had a brain tumor, and he raised his hand and asked him to pray for us, and I don't know, we prayed for him. It was just really cool, and all his classmates prayed for him. It was a really neat deal.
Moments like that one made the long journey seem worth it. And do not forget the fact that the only time the brothers could squeeze in the trip was over spring break.
I think it speaks volumes for who they are and, what they're all about. And they're as fine a young men as you're ever going to be around.
I think people a lot of times view it as, me doing something and giving up my spring break or whatever, and that's really not the case for me. I always tell people, how many times have you been to the beach? I've been to the beach probably 50 times in my life. Do something like this and you go, try to make an impact overseas. You really remember every moment of it, and you make memories, and also, get to spend some time with some great people.
That was our John Huddleston reporting. Barrett and Harrison were joined by their youngest brother Walker, as well as their parents, and a group totaling 31 people. Quick basketball notice we've been telling you on the news. Tony Mitchell already announced he wouldn't be back for a senior season at Alabama, has decided to go ahead and declare for the NBA draft. A really talented player. Hopefully he'll get a shot with an NBA team. If not, he'll make it overseas as a professional basketball player. All right, Rodney, let's take some phone calls. They're lining up for us. Let's go to Bessemer, talk with our buddy John. John, what's going on?
Gary, what's going on, man?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, man, I watched that AEA game, but I think Alabama's going to have a good team. But I want to know, can Alabama win all the games next year? Later.
All right, Rod. Yeah, we've talked about this before. Yeah, they can potentially win every one of their games. There's nobody that they play that they can't beat. That doesn't mean they're going to win them all. Even last year they dropped one, as we know, to LSU during the regular season. But this, again, is a football team that has the potential to be an undefeated team.
Oh, absolutely, Gary. But, sometimes you look at the schedule, and it's going to be real interesting. You play Missouri at Missouri. I think the schedule's got that.
Yep.
Texas A&M supposed to come here. So, you're adding a couple of teams like that. You play LSU.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even though I know Arkansas is kind of in a bit of a turmoil right now, you have to go up there. So, I mean, there's certainly a lot of competition on the schedule, no question.
Got to take them one at a time.
That's right.
That's the only way you can do it. All right, let's stay here in Tuscaloosa and talk to Bill. Bill, what's going on?
Not much, Gary. How about yourself?
Hey, BT.
Hey, Rodney.
What you got, buddy?
What's you have a timetable on Dwayne Carter, Gary?
Dwayne Carter, BT, no timetable. In fact, Nick Saban, speaking up at the Crimson Caravan in Huntsville tonight, said he was asked about the Carter along with Michael Bowman and Ronald Carswell, who are all suspended at the time, and he said it's up to them, not me. They have to do what they have to do to get back on the team, so we'll just have to see.
No, that's really all that can be said.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. No timetable, though, BT. Let's go to Fayette and talk with Gary. Gary, what's going on? Gary, you there? All right, wants to know if Alabama will be the home team against Michigan. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. I haven't heard, actually, so I don't know how that would be decided.
All right, we're going to get to some more phone calls and emails right after this. Lines are open, so give us a call, 205-348-WVUA. More phone calls in just a moment, but first, another quick note from Nick Saban up in Huntsville, speaking at the Crimson Caravan there. He says that senior tight end Brandon Lewis, previously a defensive lineman, has decided not to return for the fall. So Brandon Lewis will not be back in the fall for the Alabama football team. All right, let's go back to the phones and talk to J.K. in Tuscaloosa. J.K., what's going on?
Hey, good evening, fellas. How y'all doing?
Doing well.
Hey, Tider Insider is still the best Alabama website you can find, man.
Thank you, J.K.
With us losing a couple of pretty good basketball players this week, how many scholarships does Coach Grant have available, and how soon can we look at JUCO players?
All right, J.K., it is a good question. I don't have it right now added up in front of me, but with a number of players, Mitchell not coming back, Hankerson transferring, of course, Green graduating, they've got several. Nobody has signed yet for this coming class. They're looking at junior college players right now to answer your question, and the signing period is here. So they could sign somebody right now if they can get a commitment from them. They're recruiting high school and junior college players. I still think they're going to sign a couple of players in this spring signing period, but we will have to see. All right, let's stay here in Tuscaloosa and talk to Haley. Go ahead, Haley.
Macy and Natalie are with me, and we wanted to call and say hey. And you look good on TV. Thank you.
All right, Rodney. I didn't. All right,
Thank you, Haley.
New rule. That's a one-time thing. We're not going to allow shout-outs anymore. But Rodney, some of your fans.
Well, hey, stepdaughter. Hey, like that,
I understand. Like I said, we'll let it go this time.
Yeah.
We got to take a time out. When we come back, steak, beans, and rings. We'll explain next. A tradition continued following A-Day. The Monday night after the game, the players gather for their steak and beans dinner. Here's the catch. The winning team gets to dine on steak. You'll notice the commissioner, Nick Saban, he's always a winner. He gets a steak either way. Of course, the losing team dines on beans and franks, and the evening was also an opportunity for the players to get their national championship rings, and man alive, they are looking good. A lot of those guys have two already, Rod, and there you see Barrett Jones and Nico Johnson, and that's impressive.
Yeah, A.J. McCarron before them and DJ Fluker.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's a big ring on his finger, on a big hand. All right, that's going to do it for the program. Dinner time for us. We're going to be dining on some steak or ribs or chicken over at Buddy's in Northport. So you come out and join us about 7:15 for some great food at Buddy's. All right, for Rodney Orr and the entire Titv crew, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week right here on your home team station, WVUA TV.